Hello, Suburban. My name is Mike King, and I'm excited to be here today with my friend Steve Lee. So before my family came to Suburban about 3 years ago, Steve served faithfully as the senior pastor here for 31 years.
From its very beginning, Suburban has been a church that's been centered on Jesus. Over the years, a lot has changed around here, like our programs and our buildings and our staff, but what has never changed and what will never change is that we are a congregation that's centered on Jesus Christ.
And this morning, we're excited to introduce something new to you. It's a new logo for our church, and we're excited about the ways that it builds on our past in order to point out what God is calling us to do in the future.
Over the years, Suburban has actually had a number of logos, but what they all had in common was the cross, a strong visual image that reminded us and showed others that all we do is centered on Jesus. The design that we are currently using is a great example of that. It shows people gathered at the foot of the cross. And we believe that our new design, which literally has the cross as its center, communicates that as well.
So this new logo builds on our past, but it also contains a deep reflection of who we are and what we value. As a church, we are committed to helping everyone we meet become fully alive in Jesus. And we believe that happens when people are growing in their relationship with Christ, with the church, and with the community around them. We call these the 3 C's, and that idea is reflected in the image itself. One of the first things you may notice is that the cross is at the very center of the design because we want everyone to know that we're all about Jesus and the new life we can have because of His sacrifice on the cross. So this central part of the image points us towards the first of the 3 C's, reminding us that it all grows out of our relationship with Christ.
But it doesn't stop there. The second of our 3 C's is all about growing in our relationship with the church. And you see that in the logo as well. The cross is surrounded by a square, which reminds us of the 4 walls of the church building. Now we know that the church is not a building, it's the people who are the church. So when you think about the church, think about the people who gather inside these walls each week, encouraging each other to grow in Christ. Arrows coming out from the cross reach out to fulfill the square, highlighting the way that the life and the power of Christ draws us all together and helps us connect with each other in ways that allow God's Spirit to transform us.
We recognize that from the very beginning, God's plan was to use His church to bless and care for the whole world, which is what the last of our 3 C's is about, sharing the love we receive from Christ with our community. That is, with the friends, neighbors, family members, and coworkers who share this valley with us. That's what we mean by community. And while we work to share God's love with people all around the world, we recognize that we have unique opportunities to care for people here in the valley because this is where we are. And you see that visually as well, represented in the arrows going out from the central part of the design. It reminds us that we are a church that is for the valley and for the world. That what happens here leads us to go beyond our walls to share God's love with every person we meet.
In many ways, this represents both who Suburban is and who God is calling us to be. The style intentionally mixes modern and traditional elements. The modern lettering and colors remind us that God is calling us to share His love with this generation in a language they can understand, while the traditional symbol of the cross and the geometric patterns that churches have used for centuries reflect that we embrace the legacy and history of the church as well.
So we always want to emphasize that things that might seem like they're on the surface, things like a new logo or new children's check-in software or new paint in the sanctuary, those things actually grow out of something much deeper. They grow out of our commitment to be inconvenienced for the sake of the gospel, to stay focused on doing whatever it takes to help Suburban's people grow and to help people who are not here yet find Jesus. So that's why we've prayerfully developed this new logo. In some ways, it may look like a surface level change, but really it's a symbol of who we are and how God continues to lead us as a church.
Suburban looks very different today than it did when I arrived in 1986. And as God continues to lead us in the future, we'll look different than we do now. But one thing will never change. We will always be a church that's centered on Jesus. And we're grateful to all of you who've had a part to play in all of this. Whether you've been a part of Suburban for decades or whether it's your first day here, we want to say thank you for being a part of how God is using this place and people to see our valley transformed as more and more people become fully alive in Him.